Thank you, Mr. Hargrove. It is now my distinct honor to introduce the faculty speaker for the 2010 commencement, Dr. Chad Bauman, a professor of world religions at Butler. He received his bachelor's in Bible, religion, and philosophy from Goshen College in 1996 and his PhD in history of religions from Princeton Theological Seminary in 2005. Dr. Bauman has always been intrigued by differing beliefs of the world and has expanded his knowledge of religions by studying on 4 different continents. While studying abroad in France during his undergraduate years, Dr. Bauman was even a professional Frisbee player with compensation in the form of food. From the Ivory Coast to India to France, he has gained an appreciation for the various religions of the world and encourages acceptance of religious diversity. Dr. Bauman joined Butler University in the fall of 2005 and will be promoted to associate professor this fall. This year, he received an $80,000 grant from the University of Southern California's Center for Religion and Civic Culture and the John Templeton Foundation to support research for his next book. Dr. Bauman loves Butler University and enjoys interacting with his students as he fosters their development not only in the classroom, but in life lessons as well. His students speak highly not only of his intellect, but of his engaging personality and passion for life. Selected by the class of 2010, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Chad Bauman.
Thank you, Mr. Isaacs, for that kind, generous, and just a tad revealing introduction. Apparently what happens in France does not stay in France. And thank you as well to the senior class for honoring me with this invitation, and it is, in all sincerity, an honor. You know, by the time faculty become faculty, they have very often attended a few too many of these ceremonies, and they begin to lose their luster. The ceremonies, that is, not the faculty, although the latter might also be true. But it is for this reason, honestly, gratifying to stand here and survey the graduating class. It's an excellent reminder for me and my colleagues of what our jobs are all about. You're all bright-eyed and buzzing with potential. Actually, if statistics about student behavior in classrooms can be used to predict their behavior at commencement ceremonies, then about a quarter of you are not actually that bright-eyed since you're looking down at your phones and are emailing and texting. And a few of you are probably already making merciless fun of my speech on Facebook and Twitter. And I suspect a few of the faculty members back here are doing the same thing. But that's the risk one takes. I'll keep my comments brief and on topic, in part because I have promised to do so, in part because it gets rather hot in these things, and in part because I would like to disprove the comments of the cartoonist, the Doonesbury cartoonist, Gary Trudeau, who once said that commencement speeches were invented largely in the belief that outgoing graduates should never be released into the world until they had been properly sedated. Of course, it's also possible that Trudeau was right, in which case your sedation begins now. In the Pema Sutra, a Buddhist scripture which was recorded around 2,500 years ago, the Buddha criticizes our human tendency to be influenced by others as we form our opinions about what is good and bad, attractive and unattractive, desirable and undesirable, and encourages us to develop the ability to imagine the world as it might be otherwise than we, under the influence of popular opinion, have been conditioned to perceive it. There's nothing particularly Buddhist about the assertion that things might be otherwise than they immediately appear to us. Skepticism about conventional wisdom and everyday human perception pervades the world's religious and philosophical traditions. In 1 Corinthians, for example, the Christian St. Paul writes with an eschatological hope, "Now we see through a glass darkly, but then we shall see face to face. Now we know in part, but then we shall know, even as we are known." And of course, Hindu sages have been warning us for thousands of years that this material world, this world of appearances, of name and form, is but Maya, an illusion, and that true spiritual progress requires that we develop the ability to see through that illusion to the truly true, the really real. The ability to imagine the world as it might be otherwise, it seems to me, is a suitable summary of what we hope you, our graduating students, have gained from your liberal arts education at Butler University. If we've done our jobs well, we have given you the ability not only to think for yourselves, but also, and more importantly, to be able to empathize with others, to thoughtfully and carefully consider the opinions of others, to have a flexible mind, even to change your mind. If we've done our jobs well, we have helped you develop the ability to imagine the world as it might be otherwise. Your success in life depends upon the development of that ability. The arts are an expression of it. Businesses seek leaders who have it. Neither science nor medicine can progress without it. And the ability to imagine the world as it might be otherwise is not merely a vocational skill. It's also an important personal and civic asset. Close, nurturing relationships are impossible without it. True compassion for others flows from it. The productive civic engagement of diverse individuals and communities depends upon it, and a thriving, fair-minded, and inclusive democracy is simply unachievable without it. The ability to imagine the world as it might be otherwise is not a genetic trait. It's not about innate intelligence or raw ability. In fact, it's very often the case that those who have the most intelligence have the most difficulty imagining that things might be otherwise than they believe them to be. Rather, the ability to imagine the world as it might be otherwise is a learned ability, and we have done what we can here to help you learn it. But now, as graduates, it is your responsibility to ensure that that ability grows and does not degenerate or atrophy. And that will take a certain amount of intentional action and careful decision-making on your part.